we're delighted to have Tony Brooklier, the attorney for Dino Guglielmelli, with us tonight. What's the other side of the story, Tony? Because our expert panel thinks if the informants got him on tape trying to give him $80,000 to kill his wife, it's game over.
Yeah, well, Jane, first of all, how are you?
Good.
And secondly, you have to really listen to the tape, Jane. You have to listen to it closely, which I know our jury will do. We're going to point out that it's the informant who has a terrible reputation for being a liar and a con man, who is leading the conversation. He has an agenda. He was coached by a detective before he went in and wired as to what to say. He's the one that is soliciting. He's the one that is making the overtures. This is something, Jane, that was never going to happen. This was all a fiction.
Well, a couple of questions, Tony. If somebody is going to try to encourage you or entice you to murder your wife, why don't you just stand up and say, "Get the hell out of here"?
He never believed him, Jane. He knew that this guy was a con artist. He had just basically found out that this man had been telling him that he had military connections, was going to bring a $280 million military contract in for vitamin supplements. This man had gone to the extent of actually counterfeiting the Department of Defense logo to make my client think, at least initially, that this was real.
And so what did he get out of it? What did the informant get out of it in your scenario?
This is what happened. What the informant gets out of it is he was enticing my guy for a couple of years now, getting money from him, et cetera, et cetera. But he knew that the game was up because the contract was supposed to come in and at least partially be funded. And that was just days away. That's when he runs to the police and makes up this story.
Now, I gotta ask you about the whole dynamic between these two. They apparently jointly, the husband and wife, owned a very successful business. Her skincare line taking off. He's a vitamin mogul. At one point, it was estimated to be worth $50 million. And then after he's arrested, reports are he gave his brother power of attorney. The brother filed for bankruptcy. The company was auctioned off, and the wife is deeply in debt. How do you go from $50 million to less than zero, Tony, and why?
Well, I'll tell you, they were operating, even though they grossed a lot of money, they had a lot of employees at some point from 2 to 300, and he was the company, Jane. Without him, it would be the company doesn't move. He was the thing that made everything move. And when this happened and he went into custody, everything just stopped, Jane.
Tony, let me just ask you this question, because others say that he was extremely jealous of his wife, that it was her skincare business that was taking off, that it was going into major drugstore chains, and that he couldn't stand it, and he sabotaged the business because he was so insecure that his wife's success drove him crazy.
Well, I never heard that one before, but it doesn't make any sense to me because he was the one that created this skincare line. It was his idea, and he was the one that fronted his wife. So that makes no sense to me at all.
And by the way, I have to say, we've reached out to Monica Olson. She's invited on, or her attorney, anytime. We want to get her side of the story, too. It's a very complex case.